So now it's time to actually get in. For some children, a sense of ritual can make the process of going from the side of the pool to inside the pool a little bit more seamless. In this clip, Clara and Jennifer are working to get a new set of fins on. Jennifer is instructing Clara to push and to help her get her foot into the snug, wet, tactily arousing set of fins. Of course, she's having to brace her trunk and proprioceptively work to keep her balance while Jennifer is pushing to get her fin on. Now, Clara is so excited about the idea of getting into the pool that she actually is ready to jump in at any time, but Jennifer is instilling a sense of ritual so that at any point that she's in command of the situation. What she's asked Clara to do is to kick 10 times with her new fins, and that once she kicks 10 times, then it's time to get into the water, and thus has established the ritual. This next idea we're going to show you, we call the car wash, and you might actually remember it from the opening sequence with Salvador. This is Miriam, and she's actually sitting in our small party tub. You can also use a dishwashing basin for smaller children, and we filled this with a warm water, sometimes warmer than the water of the pool itself. And you might actually have your child sit beside the party tub to start off with and entice them into the tub with some toys or sinkable items. But Miriam has started by sitting in the tub itself, and Jennifer has told her that she's now entered the car wash and that she needs to instruct Jennifer in how to wash the car. And Jennifer has all sorts of tactily different items. She has a paint roller, she has a true car wash mitt and sponges, and she's asking Miriam to give her direction. You know, what part of the car should she wash first? Should she squeegee the windshield? Should she buff up the bumpers? Do we need to get the fender clean? And then giving Miriam some control over which textures are more comfortable to her, and on the textures that are not comfortable, slowly building up to a little bit more pressure and a little bit longer duration. And the next thing that Jennifer is going to do is allow Miriam to wash her and then slowly progress from the side of the pool into the pool. And the idea here is a seamless transition from a small pool to a large pool. So she's given the mitt to Miriam and telling her to go ahead and pick out her favorite, and of course she goes for the paint roller because that's fun to squeegee the windshield, and the scrub brush to scrub the dirty therapist car. And then the idea is just to drop away the small tub so that now the child has made that transition from side of pool to in pool without the trauma of jumping in. This next task is called the Get Dressed Relay, and we'd like to credit some clinicians that gave us this idea. If you take a minute at the end of this DVD and watch the credits at the end, you'll see the names of over a dozen PTs, OTs, speech and language pathologists, and other clinicians who gave us some of these great ideas for working in the pool. Well, the Get Dressed Relay is a fantastic combination of two perennial child favorites, the get dressed up and play and splash and swim in the water. Basically what you do is you set up a tub of old clothes. The sillier the clothes, the better. Here we have Jake modeling our Minnesota cap, and it looks like his great-grandmother's right glove. He's doing Michael Jackson proud here with the single limb glove theme. And Jennifer is asking him to kayak across the pool using the flotation mat and a single kayak paddle, which obviously causes him to cross midline and work with both limbs at the same time to cross the midline. And kinesthetically, he's having to maintain his balance on the mat and to return to maintaining his balance on the mat when he falls off periodically. Once he gets to the other side, Jennifer is asking him for cognitive tasks. She's asking questions like, what piece of clothing that's in that box would be appropriate for wintertime? Or pick out something in there that there's two of and put one on your right hand and one on your left leg. Jake is going to funnel through the box and find the corresponding piece of clothing, put it on, and then when he gets back in the pool again, Jennifer's going to ask him to return to the other side using a different method. So instead of kayaking, he might swim or use kickboards or hold his breath and swim underneath the water. So let's look at this from a sensory standpoint. A lot of times the children you'll see in your clinic have trouble with clothing. The clothing that they wear is too rough, the label is too awkward and sticky in the back of their neck. They don't like certain kinds of fabrics. They don't like it if mom buys an off-brand fabric softener. And so the Get Dressed Relay actually taps into putting on and off clothing repeatedly in a fun fashion, but on top of it, by jumping into the water, the weight of the water and the drag of the heaviness of the clothing creates such a sensory input that the idea is to actually overload that hypersensitivity that these children have to the touch of fabric. Now, proprioceptively, Jacob is having to go through quite a bit of a challenge standing here on the side of the pool on one leg. He is attempting to get a wet pair of what looks like a pair of long johns on and pushing that limb through the wetness and the clinginess of the fabric is obviously giving his limbs a lot of input to where they are in space. When he gets back into the water, he's going to travel again, and this time Jennifer's going to give him a new task, some fins, which are going to provide his legs with a lot more input proprioceptively to where his joints are in space. If Jacob had had a hard time getting out of the pool doing the standard poolside push-up, Jennifer could have laid the flotation mat that you see in the corner there across the edge of the pool so that it was half in, half out, and he could have used it as a gradual slope to climb out of. From a vestibular standpoint, Jacob can receive a lot of input from swimming strokes, from turning his head to the side, from water entering his ears, and from the challenges of quickly jumping into the pool and back out again. This next idea that we have is called deep sea fishing or kayaking. And the idea here is, again, a child that's having some reticence getting into the water. Jennifer is using a series of floatable fish of different colors, and she's giving Miriam some cues on which fish that she should get. The idea being crossing the midline or choosing different colors or using both arms at the same time. And the idea here is to get Miriam so interested in the idea of fishing that if we take her onto the ramp or we take her onto the steps and then we do a little bit more of deep sea fishing, which is of course Jennifer a little further out in the water, that it wouldn't be much for Miriam to make that step out into the pool. The last idea we wanted to hit on was good old-fashioned jumping. We call it the jumping bean technique, but basically this is teaching a child the sensory delights that come from jumping into the water and allowing the water to rush about and submerge and pop back up to the surface and do it all over again. And as you can see here, Salvador is an expert at this technique.